Happy Christmas, bird nerds. This is a special present for you. I thought I'd get this out quickly, and if you're lazing around and you have to kill some time, if you're not into cricket, I don't know, or you're frozen in, who knows, and that where you are in the world, this is my Christmas gift for you. We're going to talk to Matt Herring about his crowdfunding project for the painted snipe, which we have covered before, but this is really a celebration of the success of it. But what I would like to say, happy Christmas, season's greetings, all the best for the year that's been and the one that's coming ahead. And hey, if you're feeling like giving a gift to the Bird Emergency, all I'd like you to do is go to thebirdemergency.com/YouTube and subscribe. That would be the best stocking stuffer ever. Enjoy. Season's greetings. How's that? It's that time of the year where you're either insanely busy because you're chasing kids around and you've got to go and decide what kind of useless undies and bad ties you buy for the senior male members of your family. And as I used to do, get the Lions Club Christmas cakes or Christmas puddings for all those members of the family that you only see once a year and you don't think about from month to month. So there we go. That was my family. But today we're going to celebrate, but we're not celebrating the season. We're celebrating the successful crowdfunding that Dr. Matt Herring undertook for the Australian painted snipe, one of the rarest birds in Australia and indeed one of the rarest birds in the world. And there'll be a little twist on that in a moment. But if you don't know what the Tracking Australian Painted Snipe project is all about, just watch this short video.
Some birds are sneaky, but there's this one bird that's so sneaky it may as well be a flying ninja, the Australian painted snipe. And guess what? How many do you think there are left in the world? 10,000? 20,000? Are you sitting down? About 340. That's right, 340 is the latest estimate of how many painted snipe are left on planet Earth, one of the rarest birds in the world. Even at key sites, they vanish for years at a time. Where are they? Where do they go? How is it that Google, Facebook and my smartphone are better at tracking me than we are at knowing where the painted snipe are? Did you know we've never even recorded its call? Woo, woo, woo. And just look at it. It's beautiful, like Gustav Klimt. No, his artwork. We want to solve this mystery once and for all. To study painted snipe, we've got a dream team of experts. With your help, we'll be able to purchase the latest transmitters to track at least 12 painted snipe, uncover their mysteries, and begin saving the species. You'll be able to follow their journeys on a dedicated website with regular social media updates. There are even opportunities to sponsor a bird with naming rights, perhaps as a tribute to someone special. There are loads of other rewards too, from photographic prints to tours, and just that general warm feeling of helping a flying, endangered ninja. Let's repaint the picture for this neglected species. Visit chuff.org/project/painted snipe.
G'day, Matt.
Hey, Grant. How you going?
Well, look, you know that I'm over the moon about this because it's not that usual that I get people back so quickly after having spoken to them before. But only a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about this crowdfunding project. And at that time, there were 170 people who were supporters of the project. And you were looking to raise $116,300, as that video points out, for tracking about a dozen Australian painted snipe. There are 19 hours left in the crowdfunding. You now have 261 supporters and you are almost $2,000 above your target. That's bloody fantastic. Congratulations, Dr. Herring.
Thank you, Grant. Look, it's still sinking in. It's a mixture of feelings of relief. Now a lot of the hard work begins. But I have to say, before I go any further, I must thank you, Grant. You've been so supportive, and the Bird Emergency podcast, we got a real boost from that. And I see you on Twitter and Facebook spreading the word, and I know, the whole team is grateful for that. So thank you.
Well, Matt, that's what the show's for, right? I mean, the show is for speaking to people like you and highlight the birds that get no attention,
Yeah.
like we know hardly anyone knew, hardly anyone who's a casual observer of nature and conservation would even know that there is an Australian painted snipe.
Yeah.
Half the people who control the land where the painted snipe may well be hanging out probably don't know that it exists. And if they happen to see it, they'd probably go, "Oh, I flushed something," and they'd ask their friend who's into birds, and they'd go, "Oh, that'd be a snipe. That'd be a Japanese snipe, mate."
Yeah.
And they go, "Okay, end of discussion. Nothing special." Yeah. So that's what the show's about. Hey, and let me just say, I've been mucking around with this thing that's been in the news lately. So we'll get to a thing about painted snipe with that in a minute. But just before we came on, I decided to have a look at my stats for the show.
Yes.
12 months ago compared to now.
Yep.
12 months ago in December, just for the podcast, we had 341 downloads.
Yep.
A year on, 2,753.
Amazing.
So
that's brilliant.
And it's not to toot my own horn. It's to show that if you can do stuff that adds value to people when they listen, they will listen and they'll keep listening. So we've got to about half of the world now in terms of countries.
Yes.
And people not only in Australia are really interested in what we're talking about. And of course, because we do the Monday with Holly, which is where we first talked about, every second week we're focusing on Australian rare birds. But people are interested. So
no, that's amazing, Grant. At that rate, this time next year, it could be 80,000.
Well, but the interesting thing is, I only just started paying a bit of attention to YouTube a little while ago. I've had the YouTube channel for ages, but it's harder to do video. It's harder to do video, as you know. And I want to talk about your video for the project in a moment. And for people who haven't come across me before, a whole part of my reason for doing the Bird Emergency and whatnot was that I'd noticed things changing, but I was working as an accountant and I felt like a bloody fraud in that I was helping people do business stuff and follow strategies that I knew were damaging for the environment, and I bloody hated it. So one day I just thought, stuff this, and my car needed a service, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not going to do the service. So I drove it to the mechanic.
Yeah.
And I grabbed the registration papers. I threw the key to the mechanic, and he called out to me, "Oh, that could be ready tomorrow afternoon." I said, "Mate, I never want to see the car again. Here's the registration papers. It's your car. Here's the keys. Do whatever you want with it. Scrap it, use it for parts, sell it on. I don't want." Now, I felt really good after that in that I'd made a positive decision.
Yeah.
And that was in 2014.
Yeah.
And I can count on one hand the number of times where I've thought, geez, I wish I had a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did have to change my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I had to.
Interesting. I tried it for 18 months, Grant, and I had to hire cars quite a bit for my work. But
See,
I felt great too. It's I found myself on a bike a bit and a lot more walking, obviously, and just carpooling. It's not that difficult, is it?
no, it is difficult for some people, and I'm not like, virtue signaling or anything by this, because, you mentioned before we came on that you've got kids and whatnot. Well, it's much, much more difficult when you've got kids of school age and doing sport and you've got different interests and all that. You can't slow your life down to the point where you don't need a car. But, there are taxis and Ubers and stuff like that, and not everybody lives near public transport. I'm single and I'm past all that age, and I don't need to accommodate someone else's wishes.
Yeah.
So if I want to change my life to have one appointment a day, which is basically how you have to do it if you're in a city and you need to get from the western suburbs of Melbourne and your next appointment is in Bayswater, well, you can only do one a day, right, if you're doing public transport or whatever. Or you can pay the exorbitant amount of money that it would cost to do those things in Ubers. And, I just don't think you can. But people can decide not to have 2 cars, 3 cars or 4 cars.
Yeah, indeed.
And I had this discussion the other day too with someone, Matt. You can also make the decision never to purchase property on a greenfield site. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you make that decision, you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but at least have the discussion with yourself about what you're doing. Don't say I love koalas and send your $10 gift to World Wildlife Fund while you buy a property on that has just to be developed, that has just destroyed 300 hectares of koala habitat. I just want people to have the discussion with themselves.
Yes.
So 261 heroes have supported this.
It's so good. And like I mentioned the other week, Grant, some of those numbers represent really big bird clubs and committees of environmental groups or, entire consultancies and others and that sort of thing. So the true number is thousands of people have got behind this bird, which is just fantastic. And like you alluded to in the intro, already it feels great, even though we haven't even started tracking them, because we've shined this spotlight on them, and it will continue. We've got articles coming out in The Guardian and ABC, and it's at the forefront of people's minds, and that's such a benefit of getting funding this way. It's the money is one thing, but the engagement and all that other side of it is equally valuable, if not more so.
Well, let's talk about the project more shortly. I wanted to talk to you more about you, because that's how the bird emergency episodes more generally go.
Sure.
And because we're in this silly season, we're going to relax. So in the pre-show bit we were talking, I mentioned to you that I thought this project, the Tracking Australian Painted Snipe project, was your first project that you'd be undertaking as a postdoc. Now, we had a little bit of confusion about the terminology. I didn't mean that it was a university or postdoc research, just that a project that you were doing post you becoming a doctor of, doctor of what, Matt? A doctor of what?
Well, broadly environmental science. Yeah. But I focused on the ecology and economics of the bitterns that use the rice fields in the Riverina. And that's part of the reason why you stumped me with that expression, is because that work is ongoing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the benefit of doing what you're doing now with the painted snipe too. If you set it up in a way that somebody else can step into it when you move on to something else, it's got long-term value. And why some of the, I mean, there's pros and cons, isn't there? Because you're not doing this under the auspices of a university or some other institute. So do you get academic credit in any sense for undertaking this project, Matt?
Not really, though. Our plan is, the whole team is to publish the results. So there's academic, benefits to publishing papers for sure. And there's people on the team, whether it's University of Queensland or Charles Darwin University or Federation University. Yeah, we've got a good spread of organisations like universities involved, and not least BirdLife Australia.
Well, let's just have a look at the team for a second, Matt. Chris Purnell is from where?
BirdLife Australia. He's the wetland bird team lead.
Dr. Danny Rogers?
He is Victorian Government, Arthur Rylah Institute, DELP. Yep.
Laurie Gould? Or is it Laurie or Laurie?
Laurie. She is doing her PhD on Latham snipe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Professor Stephen Garnett, I think most people will be familiar with his name. Now, where's Stephen at?
Stephen is based in Darwin and is a professor of environmental science at Charles Darwin University.
At CDU, yep.
Yeah.
Andrew Silcock?
He's with Chris at BirdLife Australia, and, someone that I've been discussing painted snipe conservation with for a good decade.
Dr. Birgitta Hansen?
Well, Birgitta is one of the supervisors for Laurie, and Birgitta has been running the Latham snipe project. It must be nearly 10 years. And in the bios that I wrote for these people, I made jokes about her just wanting to go to Japan to drink sake.
Well, don't we all?
She's a good sport, and she's done amazing work both here, where they spend their non-breeding season, and over in Japan where they breed. So Birgitta and Laurie are very helpful, having worked on a really similar species. So when we think about the latest transmitter-types, for example, they're most helpful.
Showing my age here, Matt, but I can't get out of the habit of calling Latham snipe the Japanese snipe.
Yes.
And I must confess that it's the only snipe that I have ever laid my eyes on. Flushing them is a scary experience if you don't expect to do it, because they're, I mean, as small birds that you are used to flushing when you're walking through long grass, they're big. They're much bigger than a brown or a stubble quail, and they explode upwards. So
and that's why there was sport in it. That's why people used to shoot them a lot, because they're really quite fast and they zigzag. Unlike the painted snipe that takes off more like a rail, much slower laboured flight.
Yeah, more like a regular bird getting out of your way.
Yeah, there's no sport in shooting painted snipe, that's for sure.
No. Not that there should be any sport in shooting any snipe.
No.
Now, Inca Veldheim. Now, I tried to track Inca down.
Did you?
When I did the Brolgers episode, which is one of the most popular episodes. Yeah, because it had that hint of controversy about wind farms and whatnot. But I Googled her. I found some research papers, but I couldn't find a current contact. So
yeah.
So where is Inca these days? I know she's working as a consultant, but is she attached to any institution these days?
Look, I reckon she is probably an adjunct at maybe Federation or University of Melbourne, but I'm not sure, Grant. I know she's certainly involved. She's
one of the Victorians.
Yeah, that's right. She's certainly involved in a lot of projects beyond, working as a consultant. And her and I share this love and passion for Brolgers, because in many ways that's where it began for me back in 2001. It was my first.
hold on to that. Hold on to that. We'll go back to there. And of course, the last one on the team, Professor James Watson, and James is at UQ. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, he leads the RES group, which is focused on the most difficult birds to study, some of which I'm sure have come up at least in passing in your podcast. Birds like the night parrot and the buff-breasted button quail and the red goshawk and the leatherwing kite. He's got an amazing group of students and postdocs doing, I love it. Years ago, these birds were untouchable in terms of doing meaningful research, and now people are taking them on, and I just think that's fantastic. It used to be such a different world, like where people, a lot of academics would insist that you go to an island to where there's 50,000 shearwaters and you can get lots of data and get really great stats and have a foolproof study. Whereas now I think that conservation priority is a wonderful thing. And the RES group are, really, when I think about that, RES group at University of Queensland are comparable only to the difficult bird research group at ANU with the swift parrots, purb parrot, orange-bellied parrot, and so on.
Yeah, it's really good that the universities that are not thought of as the sandstone, group of 8 universities are doing really, really significant research in what would have been fringe projects years ago. Now I'm just going to take this out of the stream for a minute. We're going to come back to the supporters and the major sponsors and whatnot. So don't worry I did promise Matt that I would read out various names for people who upped their donations.
Yes.
It's going to be easier just to go through and highlight everyone pretty much, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because I was a bit astounded at how quickly it went from 170 to 230. That was amazing. It only took a handful of days, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So we will go over that shortly. But Matt, Brolgers, you mentioned that they were sort of your entry into, well, is it bird academia? Was that, or was it bird hobbyists that Brolgers got you into?
Look, I'd have to say definitely both. So I went to uni straight after high school and was down in Albury at Charles Sturt, and I was an avid bushwalker. I'm really keen on long-distance bushwalks, and I went out with this group in Chiltern, and in just a few hours they showed me 40 species of bird, and I just could not believe it. Things like rose robins and yellow tufted honeyeaters and so on, and I just thought, I've been walking past all this stuff. So I was 18 and a nature lover, avid bushwalker, like I say, but the detail, I just felt ashamed that I'd missed this detail, and it was so sparkling to me and so inspiring. It really was an epiphany. And from that day forward, I became really quite obsessed. About 3 years or so later, after finishing my degree, I went to do my honours on the Brolgers. They start breeding just west of Albury, places like, out towards Rutherglen and Dale, and then, deep into the Riverina. And that's when I really appreciated how little we knew, even about a 4 or 5 foot tall iconic bird species like that. And I laughed because within a year or two they were calling me a Brolger expert. And I just thought, gosh, we know so little, don't we? And because most of the sites were on private land, it really steered me in that direction of working alongside farmers and appreciating the value of privately owned habitat.
That's an area that really needs to be specialised in, I think, in Australia, because so much of the habitat where vulnerable species occur is privately owned or leased. I mean, those terms are interchangeable in terms of the land use content. And it's much harder to get permission and what to go and study on those locations. And, of course, people are fearful of what the implications might be of finding a significant population of anything, be it a plant, an invertebrate, a fish, a bird, a mammal on their property.
Yep.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done by people like yourself who understand the community importance of agriculture, the economic importance of agriculture, and to move the conversations beyond farmers are great stewards of the land.
Yeah.
When in a lot of cases that's obviously demonstrably false, but also obviously demonstrably true. So we need to get to that point where we can show people that there are benefits in being good stewards of land, and that's anywhere, not only in agricultural land.
Yeah.
But also to get...
Could be a backyard.
Oh, totally. But also to get the media in the regions, which is getting more and more concentrated day by day, to move beyond simplistic discussions and perhaps...
Yeah.
And I've always loved ABC Rural, ABC Regional, but they suffer cuts and whatnot. And I'm always surprised that there are not a couple of regular spots on every show that could actually take a thematic approach to an issue and keep going through the issues and working them through instead of grabbing, right, today we're doing the painted snipe with Matt. Tomorrow we're doing koalas with someone else, and next week we're doing something, but not ever tracking the thread right through, and not ever making the sophisticated discussion about legislation and land use and markets and transport and everything that goes together about protecting or exploiting land beyond the suburbs. So anyway. So Charles Sturt Uni was where you did your masters,
No, just bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's, okay.
Yes.
And where did you do your masters?
Well, it was my honours. The Brolgas was my honours. Yes.
And then did you go straight from the honours in terms of an academic sense straight into doing the PhD?
Yes, but 15 years. Years passed in the middle. Yeah.
So it's important to point out there that people will go, how did you get from there to there?
Yes.
Practical recognition of all the practical work you've done in those 15 years, right?
Yes. That's right. And now it's 20 years later. Yeah, that's right.
So what filled up those 15 years, Matt?
A lot of it extended from that initial Brolga work. So I became very interested in wetland management and conservation on private land. And I spent about 8 years doing community wildlife surveys right across the Murray catchment in southern New South Wales. And, I did interesting projects like looking at the response of birds to revegetation and, the value of different waterways and wetlands to certain threatened species. But the whole time right from those days with the Brolgas, I've been very passionate about these wetland birds, the painted snipe, the bitterns and so on, because I found them at my Brolga sites, back in the late 90s and in 2000. And I just, I could just see that we knew so little about them. And so that 15-year gap, I've just, sort of accumulated lots of practical on-ground experience engaging farmers and doing lots and lots of surveys, building networks and contacts and so on.
In that time period, Matt, where a lot of the work you were doing was community surveys, how does someone who has done their honours work on Brolgas and that's a poorly understood bird in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember everyone knew what a brolga was when I was at primary school. It was a bird that got talked about and had visibility, but it's fallen off the cliff.
Like the emu.
Well, I think people still know what emus are because whenever people go to a zoo or a sanctuary, everyone's got these semi-tame emus, right? Which is a whole different area. But let's not get bogged down in that. But how did you make a crust in those 15 years working and being interested on birds that nobody really knew about and that weren't cool and groovy and that nobody was ringing you up to interview you about, Latham's snipe, right?
Yeah. That's a good question. The short answer is with some difficulty, Grant.
Well, do you mind if we pass that out a little bit, because you've got less opportunities as an ecologist. Will we call you an ecologist for a working term?
Yep.
So an ecologist that's based in a region known as the Riverina in Australia, which is intensive irrigated farmland in the main. It's not all that, but that's the basis of the economic of that region. And rice growing is one of the industries. And of course, your biggest project was Bittern's in rice, which of course is studying wildlife in highly intensive agricultural situations. But we're not talking about Bittern's much today. So if you don't mind, if it's not too personal, is it a matter of getting different community groups and different industry groups and lobby groups to pay you a little bit here and there to do little bits of this and that, and it's that you're always scrabbling for the next, bit of money?
Yes. Yeah, that's certainly true, and more so in those early days. But I can come at this from a few different angles to answer your question. But one that springs to mind is making people care, and whether that's someone that works in a government agency or a landholder or whichever stakeholder it is, making them care. So I've never turned down at least in the past, never turned down a field day or a presentation or anything like that. Lots of voluntary work, building, even like we've done with this crowdfunding. There are a lot more people that care about painted snipe now than there were 40 days ago. And so you build momentum and you get people on board, whether it's a local field naturalist club or the Lions Club or an irrigator that may perhaps vote differently to you, but is actually a closet bird watcher, and you share this love for a certain species or a certain habitat or whatever it might be, and that unites you. That's the common ground, and before you know it, you've got enough to develop a project. Yeah, a meaningful project.
I'm just going to raise a point in a minute with you about that. I'm going to ask you something. So here we go. Just waiting for it to come up. Got to add this up. What have I got? 2,000. Okay, so in that time, Matt, would you have been earning approximately $2,000 a week?
No.
No. See, that's the average. That's the average wage for men. The average salary now in Australia.
Yeah.
Now, you weren't earning that, doing really important work for really important animals and birds and plants in Australia and having real impact in communities.
Yeah.
But what we've just seen in public hearings in the last few weeks has been people earning $800,000 a year, can't remember anything. And this is where and the whole reason for me getting personal with you, Matt, is to highlight that there's this whole cohort of people who are actually making a difference to stuff that matters, who are getting paid a fraction of the average annual salary.
Yes.
And then people who are making no difference and no impact to anything tangible.
Yes.
Generally, and in a lot of cases, making people's lives practically and functionally worse, who are getting paid astonishing amounts of money. So never let anyone tell you that there's not enough money to protect endangered species, because there's piles of money. Anyway, that was the whole point of raising that, Matt, because people like yourself have to, I mean, you have to give up stuff, don't you, to do work that you consider is important.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, anyone can go to uni and do a environmental type degree, and within 5 or so years be doing quite well, but they're often undergoing, I hate to say it, but it's like a box ticking exercise for the proponents of large developments. And I understand, like, there's a lot of meaning in that work as well, but it never appealed to me, even though the money may have been quite good. And so there is a price of going down the track I have, but I've been so happy, Grant, and I've had so many lovely wins and met so many wonderful people and got such useful information and seen such good on-ground things happen. And that's why I love working with landholders, because their capacity to alter their property is awful. To change the management of a couple of 100 hectares of bush overnight, is profound.
I mean, anyone who's listened to my show from the very beginning, especially all the boring policy episodes, and I must say, I republicised the Hugh Possingham and Peter Burnett episodes, which were all about policy.
Yeah.
Went through the roof. Mastodon, you people are heroes. I tell you that the number of people who went back and listened to those was amazing.
That's great. Yeah.
But I always go on about how there are just not enough incentives for people to make a difference on their own land. And there aren't. It's really difficult to get the same kind of, shall we say, subsidies that there are to consume diesel and to buy machinery than there is to expend the same amount of money on preserving waterfront.
I know.
Riparian habitat and really crucial stuff.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating to me. So
it is.
But we'll just keep banging on about it.
Yes. No, it needs desperate attention, and it's a huge part of the solution, making nature pay, so to speak. But I've also always gravitated to the other side of it, like people's intrinsic motivations. Like, if you think about some of the things you do in your life, and I think about mine, you do them without requiring any external reward, like cash in your pocket or saved money or whatever. And if you can appeal to people's love for birds, for example, they're pretty easy to sell. I mean, they're just the most wonderful communication tool to explain certain management, grazing, or how a wetland is managed. If you can appeal to people's sort of innate love for nature, even rekindling things from their childhood, so that they don't require a payment for ecosystem service or any other financial instrument. If you can appeal to that intrinsic stuff, you've got landholders out there doing it off their own bat. Incredible potential.
But I'm going to be a stick in the mud. While I agree absolutely with everything you said there, except if that landholder has no cash, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 rough years, has no cash, but has 7 kilometres of creek frontage on their property.
Yeah.
They can't get any money.
No.
But if they want to go and get finance for a $300,000 piece of equipment,
yeah, it's ludicrous.
They will find money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Someone will throw the money at them. But if they want to protect wetland, which may occupy, let's say it occupies 7% of their land hold, and they want to fence it off at what, $20,000 a kilometre for exclusionary fencing, they won't get the money because it's not viewed as an economic positive outcome. And this is what I bang on about all the time. Until governments make that a cash positive or asset positive activity in the same way as buying a harvester is, if the money isn't as easy to get, it doesn't matter how much that wonderful steward of the land wants to do it if his bank account only has 50 grand in it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right. And I don't disagree with any of that, Grant. And that's why I think they're both very important approaches, and they appeal to different people with different financial situations, different property sizes, different parts of their career as a farmer, so to speak.
Yep. It's a nuanced conversation, and the situations are site specific, they're region specific, but we never hear these discussions in the media, be it the fringe media or the mainstream media. And agricultural stories are always about production and exports and whatnot. And Landline do good things about this, but Landline haven't hit you up and already filmed a thing to help you get over the threshold, did they? Landline didn't contact you when you first started this, and I bet they knew about it. I bet someone at ABC Regional knew about what you were up to a month ago, right? Yeah, right. So that, I mean, look, I'm not trying to criticise the ABC either. That's not the point of it. The point is that there should have been, every regional journo should have already been in touch with you, because this is a significant project in Australia, indeed in the world, because what's one of the rarest birds in the world, Matt? Yeah, that's right. Yep. Now, I told you I would talk about that chat GPT that I wanted to. Yes, I'm curious. I've heard about it. I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm just got to find the particular chat that I was in. That's not that one. That's tracking movement of birds. No, I still need to come down here. I'm having trouble getting it to go down to the earlier ones. Oh, come on. All right. It's not going to let me do it for annoying, because I've done too many of these things. I asked ChatGPT to tell me what the 10 rarest birds in Australia were. Oh, yeah. And in the first it gave me a list that included Australia's painted snipe twice. I did. Yes, but it did include several birds that were not anywhere near the rarest. And then it gives you an option to regenerate the responses. So I asked it to do it again. The second time, it didn't do the painted snipe. It did have a button quail and something else, but it also had a quoll. So it's kind of good, but I've been asking it to do all sorts of things. Wrote me a beautiful blog post about hook pod and albatrosses and hook pod, which is the device to stop bycatch. But anyway, Hey Grant, you've just reminded me of something. I think this all happened since we last spoke. When did we actually speak? Was it 2 weeks ago to the day? I think it was, what are we today? Today's the 23rd. No, we spoke on Monday with Holly, so we must have spoken on the 5th, I believe. Okay. Well, actually, on the 12th. We spoke on the 12th of December. Yeah. Okay, I'm 95% sure this has all happened since then. A mad Twitcher got in touch with me, and he ended up being a very generous donor to the tracking program. His name is
Sharuka Abhirama, and he has now photographed 771 bird species in Australia's territory as of yesterday. He's down in Macquarie Island.
So is that? Hang on, was that Chiruka?
Yeah,
Bayer Wickrama?
That's it.
So $4,900 contribution 11 days ago. So if we count back from 11 days, 23rd, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the 12th of December, are you telling me that he heard about it on the stream?
I don't know. Quite possibly.
Because he made the contribution on the day that we did the stream.
I can't confirm it, but quite possibly. And he'd already donated $100, so a couple of weeks before. But he got in touch. Those numbers are just astounding. So it looks like he's going to break the record for the most number of birds seen in Australia in a calendar year. But he's photographed them all, which is a different level again. And so he got in touch. He got in touch on that day or a couple of days before that big donation and said, look, I want to make a big donation, but is there any way you can show me a painted snipe? And I said, look, sorry, Sharuka, we have no sites on the go. We have no sites on the go. I said, look, maybe by early next year. He's that'll be okay.
No, it's got to be in December, right?
Yeah, that's right. I said,
so did he get one?
Know. No, well, let me finish. I said, you never know what could happen. Sure enough, I get an email. He said, that's fine. I'll donate anyway, of course. And he made his donation. And I said, look, you never know what will happen. We're coming into the key time. So I get an email 2 days later, sighting out at Macquarie Marshes.
Well done.
So he left, this guy whom I'd never met, left Sydney at 2:30 a.m. and picked me up, came and parked his car here at 4 a.m. We then drove 7 hours to the Macquarie Marshes, a remote part of the Macquarie Marshes on private land. Didn't find a painted snipe. We were there for about 3 or 4 hours, couldn't relocate the bird, drove back. He's a bit disappointed. But the reason why I'm telling you this, Grant, is because it illustrates just how difficult to find this species is, how much of a bird emergency it is. This guy is going to end up seeing 780-odd species, right? Break the record. He has not seen a painted snipe, despite a massive mission like that. So that was a funny story. I thought you'd appreciate that one.
I do, but you know what I'm thinking about though, don't you? When I hear those numbers for 1 year, I'm thinking about someone called Sean and someone called Bruce, and I'm thinking, look, yep. I don't actually know what Sean's number was for the big year. 703. So there we go, and I don't know what Bruce's was on his big year, but Chiruka or Sharuka, I'm not sure which one is right. Yep. Call me. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about your year.
Fascinating story. He'd be a great person to interview. His story is amazing. He just recently gave it all away. He was a very successful IT professional and just wanted to spend more time in nature and sold his businesses, cashed it all in, and has changed his life.
Well, good on him. It's wrong to say it's not difficult to do, but if you make the decision to do it, I wish I had a lot of money in when I made the decision to change my life. It would have made things easier. But I tell you what, it's good when you don't have to worry about a whole lot of bullshit that you used to have to worry about.
Yeah.
But then again, I know that I have extreme privilege by not having to contribute to consider anyone else in the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
But $4,900, that is fantastic. Does that get him a perk? Let's have a look. What perk does he?
Well, he didn't take any perks. But he contacted me and said, look, is there any way you can help? And so I wanted to go and chase up this site anyway, because it's likely that we will have it as a catching site. The Macquarie Marshes are a key, about as close to a stronghold in the Murray-Darling Basin as we can get for painted snipe. So I wanted to go and make contact with the landholders and so on anyway. And so effectively, Grant, that was his perk, was coming along.
Well,
even though I failed him.
Well, but the good news is, Matt, that it's still a week to go for the end of the year. So you never know. He may get lucky.
Well, every day he's already got scheduled. That was his one chance.
So that's a great story. Thanks for highlighting that, Matt. I know you're under a bit more time pressure today, so let's talk about how you decided to do your PhD. What was the thing, if there was one thing, that pushed you to taking your academic career further? And was it intrinsically linked to Bittern's in Rice?
Gee, it's a great question. I remember clearly that there were about 4 or 5 motivations, because I thought about doing it when I finished honours, 15 years prior, which is 20 years ago now. And I felt like my motivations were a bit flawed then. But I did check myself and made sure that it was all right, because I think if your motivations are sound, then you'll see something through to the end. And credibility was part of it. It gives you more credibility to be in places and positions where you can have a greater impact. So that was definitely part of it. More important was the fact that I was doing this work anyway. I'd already been working on Bittern's in Rice for 5 years. And there's not a lot of motivation to write papers unless you're tied up with a university. And so I thought this will be a great means to get this stuff published in good journals and get it out there into the world. And that certainly helped. Also, because you get a scholarship, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's tax-free. And it could justify me sitting at my computer reading papers.
Reading journals.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And analysing the data in more detail. And so they were some of the key motivations. And I think I got lucky, Grant. Wonderful supervisors to work alongside Stephen Garnett and Kirsten Zander. I know it doesn't work out for everyone, but I would certainly, recommend it if you can get all those things right. I guess I came into it, hitting the ground running, because I'd been working on them for 5 years, and that's a bit of a head start for sure. But it worked out really great.
So, which faculty did you do the PhD in?
Charles Darwin. That's the university.
Yeah. But what was the faculty called there? Is it have they got a or the school? Is it environmental science, or is it just science?
Look, they changed their names. I can't look. Stephen is tied up with Ryle, which I think is, oh my gosh, I can't even remember it.
Doesn't matter.
It's the environmental livelihoods, something or other.
Yeah.
And Kirsten is more on the economic side of things and is with the Northern Institute.
But the reason for asking you like that is that Charles Darwin, like some of the other regional, and I'm going to call Charles Darwin a regional university, they often have an approach which is more about tying into the practical situation on the ground, like the tropical horticulture, which was the focus of Charles Darwin in horticulture, was all about tying it in with production horticulture in the tropics as much as it was about, and then tying in with ecology in terms of conservation. So they had a less pure science focus, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So that was the purpose of asking you, because I wanted you to tell me the name of the faculty.
Well, that same spirit is there now, that multidisciplinary having supervisors from different faculties, that is certainly encouraged.
Now, I advertised that we were going to talk about the designing the project. So before we get to that,
yes,
I want you to tell me what you see as your academic future from here. Are you going to keep a foot or a hand in publishing papers ongoing, or will you be more about projects that have impact from now on?
Certainly the latter, Grant. You've used that word academic a few times for me. I don't consider myself an academic, and I know the idea of doing a PhD kind of boxes you into that. But, I think they're useful skills to go and get for people working outside of academia. And this stuff is all over the internet, right? Most people that do a PhD don't end up in university. There's just not enough positions, even if they wanted to. I want to keep writing papers, but I've probably left my run a bit late for a career in academia. I want to work alongside universities, but certainly the latter, Grant, projects with impact.
And the ivory towers are gone now. Now it's gumboots out of the back of a Land Rover, isn't it, or back of the Land Cruiser?
Always was. Yeah.
So, and look, I want to throw it in too. If anyone wants to actually pay someone to sit at their computer and read academic journals about bird conservation, hello.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So, Matt, tell me how, because and I wanted to go through that process of introducing the academic process and the academic career, because you're going to write up the Tracking Australia's Painted Snipe project into a postdoctoral publication, right?
Yes. Yep.
So how do you go about designing the methodology for the project?
Yeah.
And the key things I really want to talk about is how did you determine which methods of tracking you would use?
Yeah.
And then selecting what to purchase. If that decision has in fact been made, are there lots of choices? And then, because we're dealing with one of the rarest birds in the world, 340 population estimate.
Yes.
How do you, bearing in mind that there's, 200 and, how many have we got? 261 people have put money in to help you. What do you make public as you're going on? Because you don't want, as much as I love your keenness, Shiruka, you don't want 4,000 people to know where a painted snipe is today. Yep. And they're going to turn up there tomorrow, which is what happens in the UK all the time, right?
Yes. Look, that is a lot of questions to remember, Grant. I'll see.
Okay,
I'll see how I go.
Okay, well, the first one is the process of designing a project that will work on the ground, will have practical benefits, but will also be useful in an academic sense as pure research.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, when people write up their methods, they're never entirely honest in the scientific world, because the truth is that so many great papers, the methods should be something along the lines of, I was at such and such a conference and I caught up with my mate John and we were drinking red wine and the night went on and we came up with this great idea. That's the true method of how the project came about. And so for me, it's talking to people like Inca and Andrew Silcox over many years about the terrible situation this bird is in and how poorly known it is. And we first talked about tracking it at the very same time we were tracking the bitterns. So that's about 8 years ago. And we thought that it would just be a wonderful candidate for it because we don't know where they go in winter. Among other things, we just don't know where this bird overwinters. And so when you think about designing a project, it's all about the question. And so that's our key question for the beginning. Where are the corresponding strongholds for the sites in the Murray-Darling Basin. We don't know where they are. Are they the same birds in the Kimberley? Do they just go ultra cryptic and they're still here? We have virtually no winter records in southeastern Australia. But the short answer is we don't know, and the tracking will reveal that. But then you dig a bit deeper, Grant, and you can go into other questions. If we catch both sexes, we can find out if they go to different places. We can look at whether they disperse as a group. Say we go to the Macquarie Marshes and we catch 4 birds. Are they leaving at different times? How do they, we'll say, migrate?
Yeah.
Do they rely on this dispersal network, this string of wetlands, or is it just one big flight to their overwintering site? So there's all these deeper questions.
And there's the question too, what if their overwintering site has no water this year?
That's right. And that's why, in an ideal world, you track over many years. And some of the transmitters that we're looking at are capable of that. They're solar powered. With any luck, we'll get 3 or 4 years out of them. And that reminds me to answer your other question, not from an ideal scientific perspective, but from a practical funding prediction perspective. We have hedged our bets. So we're going to get 6 of the latest 2-gram solar-powered PTT transmitters. These are the ones that use satellites. We have the French Argos satellites, and these give you real-time data effectively. When they come online for their on-cycle, we will see exactly where they are, virtually at that moment. And they're $7,000 each. And that's why we only have got 6 of them with what we thought we might have a chance at raising. And then the other 6, they use the mobile phone network. They're called GSM tags.
Yeah.
And the risk there is if the painted snipe flies out of the network,
you lose
and never comes back, we never get the data.
That's right.
But if it does come back, you're able to download the data at some cost. Here's the catch, Grant. Those transmitters are only $1,200.
Yeah.
So we've hedged our bets on this economic, side of things, and we think that's a pretty good way to do it. And we're just going to have to play the privacy stuff by ear. We don't want to expose painted snipe and sites to too much disturbance, but maybe we'll have a sacrificial area.
Yeah.
Maybe the scale of the maps is insufficient for people to actually figure out. To
actually work out which property they're on.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Or, the dot could represent, 10,000 hectares. Good luck.
Yeah. And the thing about awareness compared to protection, and that's protection of the land, and landholders and all the other critters that share that habitat are important. But weighing up whether, I'm sure you've followed the Godwits and things like that, where it gets a lot of traction on social media. But what I wonder is it actually breaking outside of the Bird Nerd network anyway with that stuff? So I don't know.
In a general sense, my feeling has always been that the benefits, on average, outweigh the costs.
Yeah, outweigh the negatives.
So the awareness, how wonderful it makes someone feel when they see there's a lot of pride involved. That's the wetland that I'm in the Friends of group, or that's my property, or that's my local swamp, or whatever. Yeah. Like the benefits of that outweigh some potential disturbance. Most bird watchers are great. You and I know that, but there are ones that will go onto private property without permission. There are ones that will just repeatedly flush birds to get a good photo or use call playback. There's lots of unethical stuff going on with a small minority of bird watchers. But I think overall the benefits, the costs, and maybe the solution is having a field day. Part of the solution is having a field day, saying, come along, we've got a site on the go. We'll meet in Nyngan or Griffith or wherever it might be, at this time, and we'll take you out, and you should be able to get a photograph, and we'll tick off, 50 people then, and maybe we'll do it twice. You know where I'm coming from?
Yep. And look, on top of that, I just thought about it now, Matt, if you want to take up the opportunity, we could do a seasonal catch up.
Yes.
Where you could talk about what you can talk about, show us some things you want to show. We can get out to a worldwide audience that will disseminate some information, but also not put any sites at risk or anything like that. And you might have some great animations or something that you can you can show. I mean, they're the things that people are really interested to see. I had a question thinking about how you talked about the selecting the trackers and the cost involved, but what about the practical matter of where do you go? Like, where do you decide to go to try and find some birds? And then are you doing something like cannon netting or mist netting?
Yeah.
So there's that method, but also, do you buy them or do you borrow them?
The nets.
Yeah.
Look, we might have to buy some extra ones, but people in our team probably have a sufficient number, like Begita and Laurie, for example, using them to catch Latham snipe. Believe it or not, catching them, it's really relatively easy. There's quite
once you know they're there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's the point. We're not too worried about catching them. We've got a few options. We could do it at night. We could do it during the day. And there's this method called twinkling that you might have heard about. It's basically herding birds towards a mist net strategically. Yeah. Sometimes people use call playback. We can't do that with painted snipe, but we're not really worried about catching them. But like you just pointed out, our real challenge, and it starts now because today the campaign finishes, we need every bird watcher to have their eyes particularly peeled for this wonderful bird. The lack of records is still as concerning now as it was 2 months ago when we were preparing for the campaign. So,
and Matt, I always bring these things back to the financial aspect because it underpins what you're able to do.
Yes.
You've raised 118,648. Now, most of that is going to go on equipment.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not paying for you per hour and the team to go out to try and find birds in places where a lot of the time you won't find them. So I just want to bring up that, again, this is not paying for you. You need to be doing other stuff as well to be able to do this stuff, right? Yeah. So I always want to bring it about that it's volunteer work. That's what I want to bring up. It's not like a builder. It's not like someone who is. It's not like conservation department staff building a walkway in a wetland, because that's their job. You got another job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a key part of it is that we have lots of in-kind support.
Yeah.
Like within the team, people are able to absorb stuff, but with the funding, we will be able to assist people getting to the catching site, and that might be an airfare or if there's any accommodation, all that stuff we can cover, which is wonderful with the crowdfunding. But the truth is, Grant, we're not going to waste too much time looking for painted snipe. It's inefficient for us. We need hundreds of bird watchers to
find the birds.
And we've got them, a lot of them already on board, keeping their eyes peeled at sites we know they've been in the past. These are places like the Macquarie Marshes or Five Bough Swamp or Herd Swamp near Kerrang, or even rice fields, all over the place. People are more focused on painted snipe than they have been, because they'd love us to come to their site and catch them and track their bird, one of their birds they found. So, we really are depending on sightings and following them up to be able to run the project. To say I was a little bit nervous about getting enough birds this season, I certainly am. but we don't have to do it all this season, Grant. In fact, it would be ideal to do 6 birds this season and 6, next summer. But I don't know where these painted snipe are, Grant. I really thought we'd have more sightings by now. Even this one at the Macquarie Marshes a week or so ago, it seems to have just moved on.
Yeah, look, well, everybody get your eyes out there. That's really all you can say. And it could be anywhere, but they need to be within a day or so of you in the Riverina for it to work out, doesn't it? I mean, it needs to be. You need to be able to get the call. I can call you this afternoon, and you need to be out there tomorrow.
Well, potentially, yeah. Or very soon. I mean, here's the funny thing. You talked about designing research programs with threatened species. There's a lot of compromises.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, we will take what we can get if we have to. Yeah. We are focused on the Murray-Darling Basin for the time being because it's historically really important for the species. But if we don't get any birds and there's only birds on the coast somewhere, then I'm sure the team would be happy to include those. We really need sightings. We can't do this project without finding birds. I mean, it's laughable, and I don't want to get people concerned because we're confident we will eventually find them. We definitely need some help.
Yeah, and so bird nerds, if you're out anywhere that would be classed as a wetland, marsh, swampy conditions, look out for the Australian painted snipe. Help Matt out, but also help Shiruka out, right? Because
well, and everyone on the team. I mean, we don't know where these birds are going to go. You could be giving someone a gift on a cattle station in the Kimberley. You could be giving someone, some villager in East Timor. We have no idea where they're going to go.
Cool. All right, Matt. Let's celebrate the people who have. I think I know last time we drew attention to the fact that Dave Watson was in the list. So that was about 12 days ago. EchoLink were in there at $2,000. So let's celebrate all the people up from there, because I think if someone gave again, if they upped their donation, it shows as a new donation, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I didn't need to go back for the original 170. I wish I worked that out first. But tell us who the really key donations came from first, Matt.
Do you mean recently or throughout?
No. For the whole project, like who kicked in which clubs or institutions kicked in or corporates kicked in the big money amounts. So we get their recognition out there.
Grant, I'm going to have to do this off the top of my head because I've shut my other browser.
It's all right. I can go through it. I'll go through and have a look in a minute, but just off the top of your head, who can you remember?
Off the top of my head, and this has happened since you and I last spoke, BirdLife Australia have come along as a gold sponsor. So that was remarkable, $12,000.
12,000 buckaroonies? Yep.
Yeah, we already have Chris Pennell and Andrew Silcox on the team, but to have that financial support as well is incredible. And it represents donations from, given to BirdLife Australia. So, I mean, that was so special. They're second only in terms of dollar value to the New South Wales government, the Department of Planning and Environment, which is $20K. And so those two alone have given us, what is that? It's basically
And then and then you've got some of the wetlands and land care groups that kicked in, so that's all really significant.
Yeah, and I really want to shout out the bird clubs, especially on this podcast. I just can't believe it. I don't have the list in front of me, but Birding New South Wales springs to mind. Silver sponsor, $5,000. But the Cumberland Bird Observers Club, the Canberra Ornithologists Group, the Hunter Bird Observers Club, Birds Queensland. There's at least 5 others that I just can't think of.
I'm going right down to the bottom, and I'll start by listing out anything over 5,000. I love there. I just stopped there. Ben Cordis now. 5 weeks ago. Early adopter, right? I mean, Harry Sadler, early adopter. Claire Greenwell, early adopter. So I'm just going to get right back to the very beginning and we'll have a look at the big money amounts so that those groups get there. So, of course, the first person to donate was you. So that was good. So Rice Growers Association of Australia put in $5,000.
Yeah.
Cumberland Bird Observers Club. Now, is Cumberland, southwest Sydney, yeah?
Yeah, west, sort of west,
2,000. Tanya Hudson, 2,000.
Yeah.
Let's do all the thousands first. EnviroKey Biodiversity Consultants.
Yep.
5,000.
Yeah.
Collyamberley Irrigation Co-op, 5,000.
Yeah.
Martin Schultz, 2,400.
Yeah.
And that was 4 weeks ago. So these are all early adopters.
Yeah.
Let's come up. It's a lot of smaller ones. Roy Hill, a month ago, $1,000.
Yeah.
Keith Hutton, again, 28 days ago, $1,000. Let's keep coming up. Where's the next one? Canberra Ornithologist Group, good on you lot, $1,000.
Yeah.
The Griner, 3 weeks ago, $1,000. OSIS, and I'm guessing they're another consultancy, $5,000. Do you know where they're located, Matt?
They have offices at least, like certainly Melbourne, Sydney, Wollongong, possibly elsewhere. Yeah.
New South Wales Department of Planning Environment, we already mentioned, 20,000.
Yeah.
Birding New South Wales, so that's 5,000.
Yeah.
Federation University Centre for, that's Environmental Research and Development.
No, what is it?
No?
It's Centre for
Research.
And then something and innovation.
Innovation. Oh, so
digital. It might be
digital innovation.
Research,
so that's $2,000. So Federation Uni based in Ballarat. So another regional uni. Good on them.
Yeah.
Murray-Darling Wetlands Working Group, $2,000.
Yeah.
North Central Catchment Management Authority, Gunbower and Kerrang Ramsar projects. So based on the Victorian side of the Murray.
Yeah.
$2,000. Maureen Christie, $1,000. Good on you. Another consultancy, Nature Advisory Proprietary Limited. That's 2 weeks ago, $2,000.
Yeah.
Dave Watson kicked in again. I see there. Oh no, that might have been the same one.
You're back up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. EchoLink Consulting, $2,000. Then Chiruka. So 4,900, and I really hope you get your painted snipe. I hope that it happens and you're big. But call me. I really want to know about your big year. Jeremy Morton, $1,000.
Yeah.
Hunter Bird Observers Club, $1,000. Canberra Birds Conservation Fund. So that's a different group in Canberra. $1,000.
They're linked, but yes, different.
I love this anonymous one that was $7,777. I wonder if they're like an aviation fan and they like the is it the Airbus 777?
No, they're not. I can tell you they're not. Yeah, I know who it is, but I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed to say. That's fair enough. So then we got BirdLife in with their 12,000. South Beach Wetlands and Landcare Group, 5,000.
That was wonderful. When I saw that one, Grant, that's when I knew we made it. Because it's only about $200 short. And I just thought, oh, wow, we've done it.
And then that takes us all to the smaller ones. Now, I'm going to go back, Matt, because I said I would for those 2 days. So I'm going to go back to where it was. I remember Luke Helpin was about where we were when we were discussing it with Holly. And I said that anyone who kicked in an extra $10 on their original donation, we'd read out. But because that's too much work, we're just going to read everyone from 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
So Luke Helpin, $65. Erin O'Donnell, $50. Robert Loveband, $10. Louise Swanson, $100. Dave Watson, who we all should know. Listen to Dave's bioacoustics episode of the Bird Emergency, $500. Anonymous, $500. We did EchoLink, $2,000. Anonymous, $50. Robin Gray, $50. Andrea Patford Mitchell, $100. Anonymous, $25. Fleur Cullen Ward, that's a hard one, Fleur. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Cullen Ward, $30. Melon Paul, $100. Andre Homan, $50. Chiruka, we've already mentioned. Mark Leary, $50. Jeffrey Dabb, $500. Anonymous, $200. Keith Ward, $100. Rose Wisemantle, $30. Kathy Isles, $100. Jeremy Morton, $100. Gregor Timms, $25. James Watson, is that Prof?
Yes.
I wonder. Yeah, $100.
Yeah,
good on you, Prof. Nikki Tors, $100. Patrick Reed, $20. Nikki Stafford Coaching, good on you, Nikki, $500. Jose, Merry Christmas, Charlie Webb. Merry Christmas to you, Jose Charlie Webb, $50. Alan Jones. Now, that's Alan Jones with a double L.
Yeah, no, he's a friend of mine. No.
So I was just going to say, if it was Alan Jones with the one L, you cheapskate, $50. But no, good on you, Alan Jones, with the double L for $50. Anthony Bayliss, $25. Anonymous, $500. Keith, there we are. Keith Lesage, $250. Leah Batterson, $100. Hunterbird Observers, Canberra, we've already done that. Dr. Swift Parrot in there with $100.
Yeah.
Mickey Perkins, a fantastic writer, $30. Andrew Silcox, $100. Dan Nugent, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Plains Wanderer expert, $25. Joss Hines, $20. Prue Wright. I know a Prue Wright from primary school days. I wonder if that's the same one. $200. Hello, Prue, if it's you. Tanya Rajic or Rajic. I don't know whether I got that right. $50. Lorraine Hitch, $500. The non-aeronautical Anonymous 777. Mark Backman, $300. Jennifer Davidson, $200. David Stab, $250. Nigel Jones, $20. Adam Edmonds, $50. Tegan James, $5. BirdLife we've done the wetlands and the Isla Marks, $200. Anonymous, $100. Finley Eric, $15. Bruce Penman, $25. Anna Wilson, $100. Thomas Kendall, $50. Anonymous, $50. Laurie Gould, who we mentioned before, $100. Jill Molan, $100. Rob Environmental Management Services, Rob. So I'm guessing it was Rob from Rob Environmental Management Services, $100. Blue Mountains Bird Observers Incorporated Association there, $500. Anonymous, $7. Good on you if that was all that was left in the piggy bank. I reckon that's great. Craig Woodfield, $20. Jennifer Mitchelson, $100. Keith Thompson, $100. John Grant, $250. Mark Carey, 23 hours ago, $500. Anonymous, $100. And another anonymous, $25. There are 17 hours to go. You can still donate to, put it towards another tracker at thebirdemergency.com/painted snipe will take you directly there to the same page. It's just an easy link to remember. You did sell out the platinum sponsorships, 2 of those. Yeah. So that's great. Look, there's still a $12,000 perk available. If you want to kick that in, it's still available. You can still become a bronze sponsor for $2,000 or a key donor for $1,000. Yeah. And there's still a photographic painted snipe print and website acknowledgement available for $500. Yeah. And there are still the painted snipe thank you card for $200. So you can do that. And then there's the shout out. Well, we've just shouted out to everybody pretty much. Yeah. $50 and you can get a thank you card still for $100. I will shout out for anyone. Just remember, I will do it again for anyone who's passed in the last 17 hours for sure. So get into it. $118,648 from Nerds. Good on you all.
Yeah,
good
it's amazing.
On you all.
Yeah, and can I just say something, Grant? I know it's a bit of a cliche that it all adds up and every dollar counts. But it's true. Like there's two things to this crowdfunding. There are those big contributions that we highlighted, the bird clubs, BirdLife Australia, Department of Planning and Environment, and the consultancies and so on. But equally, it's the other $245, $50, $100, $200. That's how we got there. Both of those things.
Dead set. And all of those people, I thought I was scrolling through and showing everyone all those names, but I forgot to add the screen to the page. It was, sorry about that, everyone. Oh, yeah. All of those people, and hopefully some of them are kids who did use their pocket money. And I mean, I certainly understand that giving $50 is a big deal for a lot of people, right? And you've made the decision to put it into a project for one of the rarest birds in the world, rather than buying, maybe some Christmas crackers or something like that. I mean, it's a choice you make in your discretionary income. I appreciate it, whether it's $7, $5, or $100. And all of you, every one of you, 261 of you, plus all the people involved in the groups and the organisations. So there's 500 or thousands or whatever. Going to go out there and talk about painted snipes. Keep sharing the information. And what I would like people to do is, when the next project comes up, even if you can't, if you're not in a position to put money into it, share it, support it, talk about it, promote it, help other people become aware of it, because there's no shortage of birds that need this help. So,
no, it's wonderful, Grant. We're good to go now. It's an emergency, and that's one of the great things. We're not waiting 6 or 12 months or more. We're ready to go. So we find the birds, and we're on our way.
So hopefully you'll keep us abreast and informed as we go along. One more question, Matt, about I forgot to ask you when we were talking to Holly, who helped you with the video? Like who helped you with the taking the footage and doing the recording and the editing and everything? Because it's a pretty good job. So who do you need to give a pat on the back to for that?
I'd love to give a pat on the back to one of my best friends, Dylan O'Donnell. And I knew him from uni down in Albury, and we've kept in touch. He's a dear friend, and you can find him on YouTube. He has a very popular astrophotography channel. He's a master at photographing space. These photographs have been featured by NASA and elsewhere, and he's just really good at making videos quickly. We did it all in one day. And he's a wonderful person to work with. Yeah, some of the jokes are his, some are mine. It was a joint effort, and we had lots of fun making it.
Yeah, good. And look, we'll acknowledge again the photo behind me of the painted snipe. That's Patrick Kavanagh on Flickr.
Lovely.
Leo I don't think Leo likes to anyone. We don't want to say where he's at, but Leo, who is on. Yeah. Well, we can probably say New South Wales. I think we can get away with that. But Leo, I use some of his images on the website from Flickr, and of course Leo shares lots of great stuff on Twitter when Twitter works. So that'd be great. Yeah. Matt, I'll just sort of say to anyone who's watching now, or if you've got a question or a comment, now is the time to put it on in Facebook Love. Thank you, Grace Maglio or Maglio, however that's pronounced. Thank you for the Facebook Love that you showed as we went along. Matt, tell me, how do you spend your Christmas, and what kind of a break are you going to have, bearing in mind that you've now got to arc up and get this project underway?
I will have a lovely Christmas day with lots of kids, all the cousins and family. The weather's looking good, no wind, high 20s, so it should be a lovely day. But this is my busy time of year, Grant. I'm off on Boxing Day to start surveying, and then I just have a crazy 5 weeks. Even if we find painted snipe in January, I'm not going to be able to act then because I already have other commitments. surveying bitters in the low Bidgie and in the rice fields on different projects. But hopefully there's some painted snipe sightings on the go in February and March, and that's when we're looking to pounce.
Yeah, is that like I mean, considering it's a bird that's got very scant records, but from what you already know, is a Feb and March sort of reliable times where you can expect to find them, for instance, in the Macquarie Marshes or in and the floodplains of those middle reaches of the Murray?
Yes, it is, but so is now.
Yeah, but
traditionally, so is now. So we just want to get them before they vanish again. So we don't have to wait for all of them until next season. If it gets to April, May, we're in trouble because there's like it's something like 1% of records in southeastern Australia are from winter.
Yeah. Tell me, Matt.
Somewhere else.
Tell me, Matt, have you got like an A team and a B team? Because while you're tied up with doing bitters in rice surveys, and we should point out that's part of a paid gig for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can't just go, bugger it, we'll do that later. No, there's deadlines and there's key dates and things you need to achieve in that project. So is there a B team who, if there is a painted snipe seen somewhere on January 13th, that can head out there and attempt to get a tracker on them?
Look, potentially, I wish there was a formal B team, potentially, but it's a tricky time of year, Grant. Not everyone's available anyway.
No, people are taking their holidays.
Yes, hold their own holidays, plus their kids are on.
That's right. People have got families. Who would have thought, and they've got to take their kids to go camping or...
Yeah. So, look, we should be okay for February and March, but it's no big disaster. It means we just put it on ice until next season and we'll be raring to go. But it's not out of the question that people find them in mid-January and then they move on. That would be unusual at this time of year. We think it may have happened in the Macquarie Marshes, but we're not sure. When they rock up at this time of year, they're coming to breed. They're looking to set up shop.
That's right.
and get it on and, make babies. So they should be there for at least, a couple of months.
Matt, I'd love to come with you on one of the expeditions and try out one of my new cameras.
Oh, do it. Do it. Well, some of the sites aren't all that far, it's only 4 hours.
Yeah, well, I can easily get up and meet you somewhere. So, no, I'd love to do that and see if I can add to the photographic or videographic records of the bird. But my interest is to be able to watch what you do so that I can then explain it to the audience, like what field work is really all about. So
it's very delicate, especially when the transmitter's worth $7,000. You don't want to make any mistakes.
Definitely. Well, Matt, I know you've got things to do, so appreciate that you've spent that time with us and that people can get to know you better. Now, I wanted to try something out since it's this time of the year, Matt. Have you got a favourite Christmas song or anything? Is there a meaningful one that you sing with the kids? Or
geez, there's a few. Let me think. There's one that's laughable, but it's my dad really likes it. It's Lee Kernaghan of all people.
Oh,
It's Santa Claus is back in town.
Oh,
and it must be about 20 years old. It's so terrible that I love it.
It's actually a good one. I'm glad your dad didn't say Mariah Carey.
No, it's actually really quite catchy. But look, I'd go anything Paul Kelly. I didn't even know what Gravy Day was until 3 days ago.
Making Gravy.
Yeah, but I love the song. It's a masterpiece, and so are others of his. I'm just trying to think of the. So he does a wonderful. It's Triple J, like a version with Briggs. What is the name of that song? It's another Paul Kelly song. Anyway,
I can't say I know. I should know. Well, the point of leading all that into, and we're going to play out.
Yeah.
I'd like to share with you, Matt, and with everybody, my favourite Christmas song with a video, and I'm sure that you won't have seen it, and I'll almost guarantee that nobody else will have seen it, and I get to test whether I get a copyright strike for doing it. So this will be good. So I'm sharing the audio. All right, let's go. Anyone?
Thanks again, Grant.
It's a pleasure, Matt. Anyone who has listened to a lot of my stuff knows or follows on Twitter knows that I'm a pop fan. So here is my favourite Christmas song, and I would urge you all to bear with it to see how a country that is not really Christian has a good take on Christmas. Hey, season's greetings to you, Matt.
Yes, thanks again.
Enjoy it all, and I really look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.
I thought of that song, Grant. It's Dumb Things.
Oh, I've done all the dumb things. Yeah, that's a great.
But it's the like a version.
Yeah. So and Briggs, does Briggs bring his attitude?
He does.
Yeah,
he does. Might be a bit much for some, but
no, good. No, well,
I love it. I think it's great.
Now, Matt, we're basically, the show's basically ended, but I just want to run past something a bit related to what we talk about a lot. I just want to tell you about this tweet that I did today, and I don't know whether you saw it. I reacted to this. Where are we? Here we go. So a bloke put up Norfolk Island a picture of, green grass and cows. Norfolk Island is riddled with cattle. I love it. Could do with a Santa bull, but I digress. The environment and air quality are near pristine. So there's one of those, what's wrong with the environment, And so I went to Wikipedia and I just quote tweeted, 7 bird species extinctions. Just saying. We need to use words better. Pristine and pretty are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Matt, have a great break. When do you come back and start work again? How many days off are you getting?
None. Oh, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well,
it's always been the way. This is when it's all happening. This is when waterbirds are breeding.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, school holidays. I take my kids on some of the trips, not together.
Yeah. So that's right. Macquarie Marshes Monday, Kerrang Wetlands Thursday, right?
Look, it's an amazing season, Grant. There's so much breeding going on. It's just a wonderful. This is the triple La Nina. It's not good for everything, but overall, this is an incredible time for waterbirds and frogs and everything else that relies on wetlands.
Bloody ripper. Well, good on you for getting out there and doing it, Matt. I'm always following what you're doing. I think it's great. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. I don't know how much of this I'll edit out because hey, it's Christmas and who can be bothered? And I mean it's a non-denominational holiday time where we all are going to recharge our batteries if we can.
Yes.
I'm going to keep putting stuff out so people have got stuff to listen to and stuff to watch.
Yeah.
Just save birds. Get out there and do it. Look for a painted snipe. If you happen to see one, don't tell the world. Tell Matt.
Excellent. Thank you, Grant.
Actually, Matt, it's important. If someone does find something and wants to let you know and they don't already know you, what's the best way to let you know?
Look, honestly, the very best way anyone can report a painted snipe sighting is through BirdLife Australia. We're just trying to keep that consistent. That's always been the place, and I will find out anyway. Yeah, but if you report directly to BirdLife Australia, it will go into the database. It will find its way to the tracking team. It's the best place to report sightings in Australia.
Great,
Yeah.
Ripper.
No
Thanks,
worries.
everyone. See you, Matt.
Thanks,
Season's
Grant.
greetings.
See ya. Happy
Good on
Christmas.
you, bird nerds. Yeah, have a great festive period. See ya.
See ya.